Good morning and welcome to Sunday Square Off. I'm Bram Resnick. A sea of red at the state capitol. Arizona's historic teacher strike enters its third day Monday. 1,000 schools shut down, 850,000 students affected. Parents scrambling for a safe place for kids to spend the day. Now the school year is winding down and the stakes are rising.
We cannot come this far and go back empty-handed. Our cries for our students must be heard.
President Joe Thomas says he won't leave the Capitol empty-handed. The Red for Ed movement demanding that Governor Doug Ducey restore $1 billion in school funding.
Well, if we pass a 20% pay increase and people continue to strike, I don't think that makes sense to citizens, to parents. I don't think it'll make sense to teachers.
He believes the strike should end now. He announced late Friday he's nailed down enough Republican votes to pass a state budget that includes his plan to raise teacher pay by 20% over 3 years. The details were skimpy. We could find out more as soon as Monday. The governor and the strikers on a collision course this week. So what comes next? Joining us is Joe Thomas, president of the Arizona Education Association, part of the alliance leading the Red for Ed movement. Welcome to Square Off.
It's good to be here, Brian.
The walkout will close schools Monday for a third day. There are just 3 weeks left in the school year for most districts. How much longer will this strike go on?
I think that's a really good question for the governor and for the legislature. I mean, they have a constitutional duty to pass a budget. Educators feel that for 10 years they've had this money taken from their classroom and we've not seen it returned. They're stepping out of their classrooms. They're walking out for their students. So we hope that we have a resolution very quickly.
But you're the one, and with your team, making the decision on whether to strike. So how much longer will it go on?
Well, let's remember that we actually took a vote. We had 57,000 educators. The first time anything like that had happened in the state of Arizona. 57,000 educators were asked, is this something you want to do? Will you walk out for your students? And 78% of them said yes. We announced that that's what the vote was, and we took everybody to the Capitol, and we do hope, as everybody hopes, we're back in our classrooms and our work sites soon. But the legislature and governor have to start talking to us. We're tired of this shrouded diplomacy. We'd like to have them come out and say what the budget looks like. I think everyone would like to see what this budget solution is.
So here's what you said at Friday's Red for Ed rally. It said, if they, meaning legislators, don't work with us on Monday, then we take the power into our own hands. We go to the voters ourselves. You're talking about an initiative. That initiative has now been filed. That sounds to me like Monday was the end date for your strike.
Well, what I was talking about was the idea of an initiative. So the initiative that was filed is one idea. There may be others that come out, but the idea is about having options. And if you go back into what it was I said, I was talking about having an emergency lesson plan. I was trying to speak a language that my educators would understand. And if the direct approach doesn't work, if the governor's not going to put money into this budget and the legislature's not going to pass it, then we always have the option to go out with a ballot initiative.
Okay, so it sounds like this is open-ended right now.
Absolutely.
This is open-ended. What do you tell parents looking for care every day for their kids?
That this fight is about their kids. I think they understand that. We're out.
How much longer do you think they're going to understand that?
Well,
3 weeks left in the school year. They're thinking about vacation. Kids may have jobs. All kinds of things are about to happen.
And in all of that, we're thinking about their students, and we're thinking about what next year and the year after looks like that. We have to get these resources back into the classrooms to lower class size and to stop teachers flooding out of our state into surrounding states where they have competitive salaries.
How about teacher support? The governor says he's on the verge of passing at least a 10% pay increase for this year. How can you hold on? How sure are you can hold on to their support?
Well, the issue that with what the governor's proposal is he's not listening to anybody. If he had come out, if he had just opened the window on the 8th floor and listened to what everyone was talking about.
He's not doing that. He's not doing that.
But somebody needs to talk to him, because this is about students. Part of the solution is competitive salaries, but part of it is also about having technology for the students, having elective courses that engage students, about having lower class size. We have to have things like that so students have the schools they deserve. And Bram, these are things we had back in 2008. I know the state can afford it now. The problem has been politicians that are refusing to act.
He has refused to talk to you. That's not happening. I want to get to this initiative. Your union was involved in the ballot initiative that was filed Friday, and we'll talk about it in more detail with our next guest. But the legislation you're asking voters to approve would appear to give the union collective bargaining rights, right of refusal over how the money is spent by a school board. So is that what this strike is all about, in part, getting those kinds of rights?
We've done research for over a year listening to the voters. You have to find two things. One, what will they support? What funding mechanism will they support? And we found a couple. And two, what is it that they want you to do with the money? And over what they said is the money must reach the classroom. And we looked for the most sensible mechanism to get the money into the classroom. And so we're allowing, in this proposition that's moving forward, governing boards to determine some way. We give complete flexibility to governing boards to where at least the educators where the money's supposed to come to can weigh in. That's all it is. The governing board has...
Language is stronger than just weighing in. It requires
to approve,
your approval.
Right, it requires approval, but the governing board still determines what that is. And so we're looking for a partnership.
But what if you don't approve? What if the union does not approve of the way the governing board wants to spend the money?
It's not the union. It says the employees. And let's be very specific about that. We do represent employees out there, but there are districts where the governing board will come up with a mechanism.
What if the employees
don't
approve?
Well, Bram, what if we don't get this money into the classrooms? That's the real issue. We have to have some mechanism to where everyone has a stake, has some say in how this money is going to get in there. We think we should be having the employees and the governing board and the superintendency work together.
All right. It's going to be an interesting week.
It has been an interesting week. I think it's going to be amazing next week. We should have 50,000 or more educators at the Capitol on Monday.
Got to end it there. Joe Thomas of the Arizona Education Association, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you, Brent.
When we come back, insiders explain why Republican Debbie Lesko barely scraped by Democrat Hiro Tipernini in a heavily Republican congressional district, why it's a danger sign for Republicans. But first, who would pay higher taxes under a ballot initiative that would fund our schools? We get the details. Stay with us.